by for Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors with your host, Drew Kirby.
Hey, this is Luke Combs.
I am Morgan Wallen.
I'm Riley Green.
I'm Travis Denning.
Hey, I'm Aaron Lewis.
Hey, it's Luke Bryan.
I'm Tim McGraw.
What's up? This is Ian Munsick.
Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors.
Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors. And Janet Millick is with us again this week. And Janet, I think you've been on every episode of the entire run of this series.
Yes, I think I have as well. And I'm pretty sure people are getting tired of hearing about the same things over and over again. But those are the things that tend to be pretty important to Game and Fish.
Well, and that's our main focus of having Game and Fish as a part of this show, is because we want to be the relay for Game and Fish to get the word out there, because it is so important to make sure that everyone is on the same page and everyone knows exactly how to do things and why they're doing it.
Exactly. And Drew, we really appreciate your invitation and the participation that we get from viewers, and the feedback is always fantastic that, you do reach a lot of people, and we're happy to be here. And sorry if it is repetitive at times, but hey, we're here to get the word out, and we really appreciate everyone.
That being said, there are three little letters that people hear a lot about that over the last, few years have been very serious. And that's AIS, the aquatic invasive species. And I know that there are a lot of fishermen and boaters this summer that maybe had to take 5 or 10 minutes out of their boating trip to stop and check out guys like Eric Hansen to get that inspection done, just so that we can make sure our waterways are all fine and dandy.
That's right. And, we had the fortune of having a very strong AIS program that has been built, really with a lot of technicians, with a lot of equipment, and the people that work those positions, not just the technicians, but the supervisors, are incredibly knowledgeable, and they talk with people all over the state that come through those. They talk to people all over the country who do their same job. And, they know all the biology and the sampling and everything that goes into it. And so it's really a great program that Wyoming has. And I know sometimes it is a pain in the arm for folks to stop in and say hello and get your boat inspected. But the news that we have today to share is yet again another reason why Wyoming is pushing this pretty hard.
Yeah, Eric, bring you in now, and can you give us this? It's really important news that people need to listen to and realize that life could be different if we didn't have these AIS inspections that we go through every time we go out.
Absolutely, Drew. And, Janet touched on, that we do a lot of the biological, the sampling, and try to keep as knowledgeable, not only of what's going on in Wyoming, but also our partnering states and, other agencies that are also looking for these. So it's not just us that's out there looking for mussels and juvenile mussels in the water. It's a multi-agency, multi-state thing that we try to keep a good track on where these are. And a good example of that this year, CPW down in Colorado, they were doing their standard summer sampling around the state, and they discovered zebra mussel veligers, which are the juvenile form, in the Colorado River in the Highline Canal system. So if folks remember, that Highline Reservoir in Colorado has had mussels now for a couple years, and they had a couple failed attempts to try to eradicate those. And so this finding quite a ways upstream in the Highline Canal outside of Dubuque in Colorado just kind of emphasizes the fact that these things are changing rapidly. The biology changes all the time. So we have, flowing waters now, like the Snake River in Idaho that was found with zebra mussel veligers last year, and now the Colorado River at the Highline Canal. So it's just a good reminder to folks that, a lot of these things are unseen, and that doesn't mean that we're not looking for them. And so it is that time of year that we're doing our sampling. And I have to say, as a biologist, it definitely makes my ears perk up a little more now as these things happen around, that, as our samples go in and our results come back, just hoping that doesn't end up affecting us as well.
I know you said there were a couple of failed attempts. If a waterway gets infested with this and they're found there, is there a reversal at all that could happen? Or are they kind of advancing just like everything else where they kind of advance with their surroundings?
That's a great question, Drew. And, there have been examples around the country where there have been eradications of zebra and quagga mussels. Typically, those are an enclosed system, with not much inlet or outlet water. And there are systems that they're able to drain the water low and get a successful treatment on and have dry time as well. When you have things coming up in these larger river systems that are fed by multiple reservoirs and hold a lot of water for water use, not just for outdoor enthusiasts, but also for homeowners and irrigation purposes. So it's really, really tough to get rid of them. And I wouldn't say impossible, but it's definitely not anything that's a quick fix if it's something that shows up.
So if it were to get into the North Platte River system, I mean, would that end up affecting all the way down the line from, like Pathfinder and Alcova and through, Casper and then Glendo and Guernsey and just eventually hit all of those?
If the river runs through it.
Yeah. And, so that's part of the interesting part of my job. I won't say it's fun because it's much better for me to not have to worry about these things moving in and spreading down. But curly pondweed in the North Platte River is a great example of that. We've seen that movement from the Miracle Mile down through Pathfinder, and now this year showing up in the upper end of Alcova as well. So it doesn't necessarily happen overnight. It's not something that could be super quick, but the possibility of spread is very, very high if these things are introduced. And, the way that we use our water in Wyoming, it moves through the state pretty fast and downstream. So.
And I'm not sure if listeners caught it, but a little word that Eric said that was pretty important was upstream. So the mussel veligers that were found in Colorado, were upstream from the reservoir where they were initially found, right? So you would imagine it would be logical that anything downstream might be affected, like we just talked about, but this is upstream. And so, the source is not kind of in that original place that we thought. And so that's the scary stuff, right? And Wyoming is very lucky, and we will continue to be lucky because we're mainly a headwater state. So most of the water in Wyoming originates here and flows out of Wyoming. And so that's another reason why we try really, really hard to keep our waters clean. And so just, keeping in mind that, the changes that are going on in Colorado right now are just crazy. And so we want to prevent that here.
And that does bring up the point of how important it is to stop for that 5 minutes just to make sure that everything is taken care of and was it drain, and dry, and make sure that everything is, even if it's your kayak, that could be a carrier and could be an issue.
Yeah, as little as, a quarter of a cup of water, a splash of water could have, hundreds of millions of those veligers in it and can contaminate everything. And, Drew, we often talk about boaters and fishermen and recreationists, but I find it very interesting that, we had a visit from a game and fish retiree who now lives in Colorado, and their homeowner association waters all of their neighborhood off of High Line Canal. And so he was talking about the panic that's going in there as far as, maybe not everybody else panics, but he does because he knows what might be coming. But he was, talking about, oh my goodness, now what do we do? Are these things going to line all of our areas, irrigation? And he's in a very urban area. And so it's not something that, is going to be left out for the livestock producers only to deal with or something along those lines. It is everybody. It is in town. It is electrical users, sprinkler users in his case. And so keeping that in mind, it is an effort that we all need to make to keep this program supported and going.
So in a situation like that, you were talking about irrigation and the electricity. What about drinking water and the water that flows into the homes? I mean, is that something that eventually it could just spread right into that too?
Absolutely. There's a good example from Austin, Texas, a few years back. Texas has many infested waters, and they get a lot of their homeowner use water from those reservoirs. And they had issues with degraded water quality, bad odor, bad taste. So it is something that if it gets into a urban water system, you could expect to have some repercussions from when it comes to the quality of your water as well.
So, getting those AIS inspections, very, very important. And so my parents were coming from Illinois, and they were going to drag their boat all the way here. And I said, you need to make sure that you get inspected as soon as you come into the state, because, where he fishes is, like the muddy Mississippi and Illinois rivers and some of those, waterways that have been known to have some not so good things. And, if you're coming into the state, even though boating season is about over, you still need to get those checked.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that is a good point to bring up. As the summer trudges on, we're getting closer to school starting back up, and a lot of boating season starts to wind down. But it is a good reminder to folks that even as we go into the Labor Day holiday and our hours start to shorten and change, that we are out there, we are present all the way through November at most of our check stations. The regulation in Wyoming is that if you're traveling into the state March 1 through November 30, that you need to have your boat inspected. So it's an everybody thing. And, that's my main job, is to educate folks on what they should be looking for on their watercraft. And, if they take those steps to do that when they leave a water, it makes our inspection process go pretty quick. And we're just verifying that there's nothing on there that could be a harm to our waters when they launch. And, so if your boat hasn't left the state and you don't pass a check station, you've been inspected for the season, obviously you're good to launch in Wyoming. But if you pass an open check station in your route of travel, or if you're coming in from out of state, you need to stop and say hello to our inspectors and make sure everything's good to go.
Very good. Well, it's very important you get checked, and you want to find out more, go to wgfd.wyo.gov. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Drew.
It's Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.
It's Drew and Brian. Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, a big part of the Wyoming Walleye Stampede. And Brian, we've all year long have been talking about this tournament and this series, and it's been it's awesome. And we were talking to Chuck Craig, who was one of the guys that comes over from Nebraska and Boise, and he loves going into Rocky Mountain Discount Sports when he's there, because when he finds something he likes, he doesn't want anybody else to have it.
Yeah, there's it's kind of funny when an everyday angler, they get a certain color of flicker shad that's working, and they might buy one or two, but when a tournament guy finds a color that's working, he cleans off the whole peg so nobody else can have that same advantage.
Well, and the best part with Rocky Mountain Discount Sport is you guys will reorder and you'll stock it back up, but maybe not during the tournament.
Well, yeah, it does take a little bit of time to replenish, but we definitely try to carry a product that's going to sell well within our area, right? So, we're not going to have the best bass fishing selection, but if you're looking for trout or walleye fishing lures, we're going to be able to take care of you.
We have been talking a lot about fishing just because it's top of mind with the Stampede, but you're already looking at your hunts for elk, and we were even talking about goose hunting. It's not too far away.
I know, I do love me some goose hunting, but this is the time of year where guys are putting up ground blinds, putting up game cameras, changing out their SD cards. They're in the field, they're breaking in those boots, they're checking to see if that camo that they bought last year still fits. Mine's a little loose.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good thing. But yeah, everybody's just kind of prepping. We talked about, I got new goose decoys, and I've got to get those put in the trailer. And, I haven't had time with the Stampede and everything else that's been running on. So that's going to be an evening of swapping out decoys and getting ready, because goose season is going to be here about the same time big game season opens up.
So we talk a lot about preparing on this show because it's important. I think there are people that maybe haven't gone out and prepared like they should, and they end up, take it in the pants because they get caught with their pants down, and they take it in the pants, and there's a lot of pants talk going on now. But making sure that you have everything that you need before you head out into the field is important, and we talk about that, and people may get sick of hearing it, but one guy is going to be like, man, I'm glad they said that because I forgot to go get game bags.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit last week. I got a new backpack, and I took my old backpack and stripped it down and cleaned everything out. And I'm like, I don't know why I have this in there. Clean that out. But things like game bags. I always have quarter bags for 4 quarters, and I've got in my new water bladder or a new bite valve for my Camelback. That kind of stuff. It just if you're a bugle guy, you might need a new reed or a new band. I mean, this is the time of year to do that because once everybody else figures it out, it's going to be gone.
It is. And I was talking to Tony. He's talking about his crossbow. He got a new Raven, and now's a good time to get those sighted in. You guys have the 20-yard range right there and text that can help you get it going.
Yeah, I actually changed out. I actually have a deer tag in Kansas this year, and so it's an archery hunt. So I have a compound, and I also have a Raven crossbow. And I went ahead and changed out my strings, and I have a Burris Oracle on there as well. And when of course I check it out, and the battery's dead. So that's one of those things where you got to make sure you think about everything, even if it's a regular compound. If you've got a lighted nock or a lighted sight, you got to make sure all that stuff's working before you get into the field.
Well, make sure to check them out at the store, CY Avenue in Casper, or you can hit them up online, RockyMountainSports.com. We'll be back as we're talking the 2024 Wyoming Walleye Stampede.
It's Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.
Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors. One more time on location to wrap up the 2024 Wyoming Walleye Stampede. Mitch Bauer and Brian Woodward here. And guys, it was a tough fish here at Pathfinder, but I think all in all, 4 tournaments were fantastic.
Yeah, we just finished up our championship, which was our top 60 boats that qualified with the 3 preceding tournaments. And we're at Pathfinder Reservoir, and the fishing was tough for a lot of guys. This is a tournament where we typically see a lot of personal bests for guys, a lot of, 28, 29. We had talked to one team that had a 33-inch walleye pre-fishing. And those fish really didn't show themselves this tournament. We had 125 3/4 on day 1, and then a 22 was the next best fish. And today we had a 27, and I think the next best fish was 20.
20 and a half, something
like that.
It was tough.
We're missing a lot. The guys were struggling finding those big fish.
One of the things that a lot of guys are talking about was the weather, because the weather was hot all week long, and then all of a sudden we started getting thunderstorms and cool fronts, and it really changes things. And we talk about that a lot on the show, Brian, is you can't plan around the weather, but sometimes the weather will throw you a big old fumble.
Yeah, we had thunderstorms. In fact, when we were launching boats, we launched the boats at 5:30 on Saturday morning, and we had lightning within, a storm coming through within, I figure about 3 to 4 miles away. So, it kind of makes a guy uneasy a little bit. But, that storm kind of worked around us. But the storm over in both evenings, we had heavy rain last night. I mean, sideways rain, cold rain. And the water temperature cooled down another 2 or 3 degrees this morning. So the guys that were catching fish in that 4 and 5 foot of water said that they had to slide out to that 13 to 15 foot of water.
Yeah, I think those fish moved deeper. I think that cold front, we had a cold front come through, was a Wednesday night, and that cool. We had 90 degrees, 95 degrees Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday night, Thursday wake up, and what was the high then? I think 70.
Yeah.
So,
58 degrees on Saturday morning when we were launching boats.
So, I mean, fishing tournaments, you can't predict anything, and it's nice to see, and we're going to talk to Mark and Curtis, who won the championship, also won the first Galindo this year, but, there are a lot of people that come a long way, and Brian, I think we had talked at one point 7 or 8 states are represented in almost every tournament.
Yeah, the championship, I think we had 5 states. In fact, we had one partner come all the way back from Australia to fish with his partner. So It's a big deal for these guys, and it's something that they plan. It's something that they schedule, that they look forward to. It's an event, kind of like elk hunting that, if you just put it on your calendar, you're going to make it happen. But if you just say, well, we'll see what's going to happen next weekend, whether we're going to play or not. A lot of times you just, something else comes up and, maybe family issues or, whatever. But these guys look forward and they plan their weekends and these tournaments. And it's a great form of camaraderie for these guys to hook up with theirs. We had Bill Jensen has a brother come out from Wisconsin that fishes 2 or 3 events. And we got a lot of that type of scenarios where people are just flying in from other states just to partner up with their old high school buddies or, whatever the case is.
It's funny that Wyoming is known for trout. Like you ask somebody about the fish, but Mitch, you're from the upper Midwest, so you know all about walleye fishing there. And to see a tournament like this, you guys have put together a top-notch tournament, and it's nice to see people acknowledge that.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that at our Governor's Cup when we had our follow-up to that tournament. We're one of the biggest tournaments in the nation now, and I think, as Brian said, the prestigiousness of our championship, these guys come all season and come from a long ways to come and fish, and there's personal best opportunities. Our sponsors do a really good job at this championship, helping us get extra merchandise to help with our payouts. And I think the quality of fish overall Wyoming has that we're not really known for, as you said, walleye fishing. There's several reservoirs that are kind of unknown, and Glendo, of course, is a pretty popular one. Pathfinder, up until the last 2 years, was I think, what was it, 3 years ago, we had a 60-pound, almost 60 pounds.
Almost 70 pounds.
Almost 70
68
pounds.
pounds,
Yeah.
Hard to believe when the top was
22.
22 pounds. I mean, that's pretty major drastic change,
Right, and it's hard, we don't obviously have the numbers from Game and Fish in terms of big fish numbers. I think they'll tell you that the big fish are still here. But this is a huge body of water. I think second largest or third largest in the entire state, and a lot bigger than a lot of other states in terms of just overall body and shorelines. And to try to cover this body of water, even in a week's period, is pretty tough.
So what are we looking in 2025? I know you haven't even really started the planning phase, but the Governor's Cup will be back for year 2, and I think that made a huge impact on just the way the tournament is evolving.
Yeah, we have some ideas. We obviously we really like keeping the first 2 Glendo tournaments, 1 and 2. The water fluctuations tends to make that a huge difference in bite. I mean, look at Mark and Curtis. They won that first one, and then they pretty close to bottom middle of that the pack on the second one. So. It definitely it's humbling because of the reservoir systems versus a natural lake. These water levels fluctuate sometimes 30 feet, between tournaments, and so we're going to keep those 2. Maybe a little bit up on the air on our 3rd and 4th event. We definitely are going to probably keep boys in the mix for either the championship or our 3rd season event. But, whether we come back to Pathfinder or if we go to Semino or maybe we add Keyhole in the mix, it's hard saying.
The Alcova?
Yeah. Well, if there wasn't so many play boats to contend with, that'd be a fun lake for a championship. I think we could run 60 boats there.
Yeah.
It might be a lot for that lake, but there's a lot of great reservoirs in Wyoming. And, so we have to kind of plan around Game and Fish requirements. There's certain weeks and months that we can't do tournaments in certain lakes. There's certain restrictions on that aspect of it. We always run into a problem with accommodations, especially on some of these remote lakes like Semino, even Keyhole. Some of those lakes are kind of hard for guys to find housing if they're not just dry camping. And then when you're working in a state park, even if you have a generator, most of our guys are running a bow mount most of the day. And so it's really important for them to be able to get a good charge on their boats. And if they got to turn off the generators at 10 o'clock, then that throws a whole loop into it. So there's a lot that we have to consider. We really enjoy the lakes that we're going to right now. Glendo and Pathfinder here, they're super accommodating. The Alcova Sloan's here, the general store. It's a fantastic facility. They've got 10 cabins here. There's a big RV park across the way. They've got a big grass area. They've got fuel. I mean, it's just really nice, and it's close for us for our championship when we're hauling in so many prize packages. Yeah. I mean, we paid down 30 places today out of 60 boats. So we paid cash down the first 10 and an additional 20 spots down of significant cash prize or prize packages, where those were $250 to $400 per person. So our 30th place team is still walking away with $500 worth of prize packages. So
it is such a great thing. You mentioned Sloan's, but Mitch, I mean, you guys have partners in every lake that you go to all year, and like Glendo, this is the first year for B&A Marine, but I think they did a great job.
They did fantastic, and I think that's always been a thing we put on the list too for what comes next year is what's going to help with accommodations. Who can we talk to? Who do we have a good relationship with? And then all of our help. What's easy for the weighboat staff that we get, the people that are helping us. We have our families that help out quite a bit, but we've also got guys like you that we want to try to make it as easy as possible as well.
Mitch, when can we start looking for the 2025 registration? That usually is after the first of the year, right?
Yeah, we'll probably get the registration out first of the year, but we'll have our tournament schedule hopefully released here in the next couple of weeks. I have a feeling we got to give it, as Brian said, Game and Fish, state parks. There's a few people we got to get the approval from first. We've kind of got a little bit of an idea. We just got to see what kind of aligns, and then the registration will be open end of December, first of the year, 2025, and then we'll hold those applicants that get in early, and then we'll do a random draw to do boat seatings for the first couple of tournaments. And
we've been kind of talking about obviously our Governor's Cup has really become quite the draw, and people are really wanting to get into that event. But our main goal is to run a circuit, not just one great, big, nice event. And we feel that all of our events are good, and then everybody should want to get into those events so they can qualify for our championship. So we're going to probably change our registration a little bit next year. We're going to, let's just for a better lack of terms, call them premier teams. And so the first 60 days is going to be a window where those 60 teams will be able to register for all 3 events. If they register for all 3, then those are the ones that are committed to our circuit. After that phase, we will open it up for individual events. So we know that we go to communities where, like Boise, where people that live in Thermopolis and Shoshone, they may only want to fish Boise Reservoir. And that event will probably never be capped. It's a big reservoir. We have lots of accommodations, but that's not the case with the Gov Cup. The Gov Cup, we got a little bit higher entry fee, and it's a higher payout, and we are capping that event at 140 boats. So we want to make sure that our premier teams at least have the opportunity to get into that event first. However, if there's people that want to sign up for all 3, and whether they know or think they can fish the 3rd event, we'll let them sign up. It'll just probably be a non-refundable 3rd event entry fee.
Well, I encourage you to go follow them on Facebook and, follow along, and you'll get all the information as it comes out. So it was a great 2024, guys. I appreciate you letting me be part of it and be on the show. Thanks.
We appreciate your help.
It's Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.
And here we are. We have finished the Wyoming Walleye Stampede for 2024. We had 2 great tournaments in Glendo, one in Boise, and wrapped it up here at Pathfinder. And we've talked to these guys before, the champions of the 2024 Wyoming Walleye Stampede. Mark Schoening, Curtis McCormick, you guys, you've won the first one this year, and you wrapped it up at the championship, and you guys are now champs. That's pretty strong. That's awesome for you guys.
Yeah, it's super cool. Last year, we have a couple teams that we travel with, and last year one of our teams won as well. So fishing together is a big deal, and working together, it's been great. So, hats off to those guys for helping us put this together. We've been here all week. It's been unbelievable fishing, and then we had a huge cold front come through, and that cold front changed a lot of stuff for us. So all in all, it was amazing.
It feels good to be champions. I know you guys worked hard. You put a lot in, Curtis. I know you come up. You're from Nebraska, and Mark, you're from Colorado, and you guys make the trip every tournament. So, like, you put a lot in, you invest a lot, and hard work shows off.
Yeah, it's pretty rewarding at the end of it to see all the hard work pay off for sure. It's a team effort, and it takes the team at home and our guys out here that we work with every day. So, it's a pretty awesome experience.
One thing that I really have noticed about the Stampede and other tournament circuits like this is it's kind of a family atmosphere. You guys come up with a group of guys, but when you get here, everybody mingles with each other, and it's just part of fishing. It's at the end of the day, it is fishing. You may be a tournament fishing, but it is at the end of the day, and I know that means a lot. And I know Brian and Mitch do a really hard job putting this stuff together. And what are you guys going to do for next year? You got plans to come back and reign the supreme champions that you will be?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Like I mentioned the last time, both Curtis and I used to fish at the national level, and the money's just not there. The atmosphere here is unbelievable. The payouts are really good, and the competition is very good. So to win something like this, yeah, we did it, but there's still some luck that goes into it. You have to be good enough to be in the spot to catch the fish, but you still have to catch them, and you got to get that bite. So like Curtis said, the team has put us here. We're all of us, I think, are in the top 10. So it's been amazing. Our family's at home. Curtis's wife drove 4 hours to be here, and it's unbelievable. She didn't know we were going to win. She had no idea. She just drove here to be here. So it's amazing. The family is definitely where it's at.
Very much so. And I know, Curtis, that you're going to head back, and you guys have a whole year to kind of rest and play dad and husband again. And how you guys going to take a little time off, or before school starts, I guess, probably, and get back to the real life?
Yeah. I left to come up here on Tuesday morning early, and then we're leaving next week for family vacation. So I've been on vacation for 2 weeks. So I'm excited to go and have some downtime and hang out with the kids for sure.
It's so cool. The emotions are real, and, you guys love what you do, and you love coming out here. And Mark, Curtis, we do appreciate it. Congratulations again. Noah has been chomping at the bit. Noah's been with us the entire year for the Walleye Stampede, and he's going to do his first interview. Noah, take it away.
This is Noah Davis back with Hookin Huntin Outdoors, and I'm interviewing the winners of the 2024 Wyoming Walleye Stampede Championship. I'm here with Mark Schoening and Curtis McCormick. And Mark Schoening, earlier in the interview, you mentioned the cold front coming through and how it really messed with the fishing for you guys. How did you guys see the fishing change from earlier in the week?
Earlier in the week, it was literally on fire. We caught so many fish, and it was unbelievable amount of fish caught, and the time was amazing out there. And then the cold front come in, and literally the fish locked their jaws, and it was totally different. We knew that the weather was going to stabilize before the tournament, coming up to it. So we had a pretty good idea that they were going to do what they had been doing. But the fish definitely slowed down. The presentation had to change a little bit, and with our team, we just worked together and having that access to other boats, experimenting and pre-fishing and doing it the way we were able to fine-tune it.
Yeah, and when you guys were out here on Thursday and Friday when that cold front started coming through, when you got there Saturday morning, did you think that you were going to win? Did you think that the spots you were going to go to were going to lead you to the victory?
No. We had caught a really big fish earlier in the week. We got here Tuesday, and we started fishing about noon, and we had a really good basket that day. I ended up catching a 30-incher, and we knew that really wasn't something that we could reproduce just the way that we had caught her. So we were super concerned, but you just go out and you go fishing, right? You do it every day, and yesterday we stumbled a little bit. We got our 5, and we got okay weight. And then today it just turned around. And sometimes it's just meant to be. we can work our butts off, but sometimes it was our turn.
So Curtis, you caught the big fish today that made you guys win this tournament. And were you guys doing the same thing that you were doing earlier in the week, or did they switch to a different type of bait, or what did you notice?
We found out early out in the week we were throwing one color of fluke that was working good. So it pretty much stuck the whole time. We never drug the trolling rods out the whole time we were here. We had jigging rods in hand, and we utilized live scope a lot. We were able to, use that technology to our advantage and find what we needed to look for, or find what we like to see more rather. And, with that big fish, we were just put ourselves in a position to just a high percentage area that there's likely to be a big one around. And it wasn't a giant, but it was a really, really nice fish. It was a 22-incher. So, a 4-pounder goes a long way in a tight tournament like this. So, we just fished a high percentage area that should hold big fish, and was able to use live scope and get the bait in front of him and present it in the right way and get the bite, and everything worked out great.
So me and Tony saw you guys this morning after you had caught your 5, and you guys were kind of running and gunning looking for a big fish. When you got to the spot you caught that bigger fish earlier this week, did you stay there, or were you fishing rocks and other spots around it, looking for hoping there's a big fish sitting there eating bait fish?
We were for sure moving around looking for the right mark, and like I said, when in a situation like that where you're looking for one big bite, just put yourself in a high percentage area as we were able to run around and look around and be real efficient in that search. So having that technology really helps out, but being able to move around the lake and know some spots that should have fish, we just put ourselves in that position. So,
well, Mark, you and me still got to pre-fish together, so next year's the year, right?
Well, we'll see. Every year you stand us up, you keep promising that you're going to be there, and you never show up. So we'll just wait at the dock for you. I'm not going to hold my breath because I'll never make it. I'll probably die.
Well, we'll win. We'll fish next year, and we're going to help you get to the win next year again. So thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Noah.
Great job, Noah. And again, thanks, Mark and Curtis, for chatting with us. And congratulations on your 2024 Wyoming Walleye Stampede Championship win. We get plans, as we talked with Brian and Mitch a little later on, about what next year will look like. And I know that they've already started chatting about it, so we'll have details about that coming up soon. It was great. 2 tournaments in Glendo, 1 in Boise, and the championship right here at Pathfinder. So it's all been a great summer of Wyoming walleye fishing, and we've got a lot coming up still. Hunting season is upon us, so make sure to tune in next week. We're chatting again with Dr. Dan Thompson. Bears are on the move, and we'll get more detail about what's going on in the bear world. Plus, we'll chat with Brian to see how we're looking for fall hunting seasons. It's all coming up on the next Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors. You can follow along in the radio station's app. You can listen on demand to all of our programs throughout our 3-year run. And we're not done. We've got a lot coming up. Like I said, Game and Fish, we're going to set up some times and maybe even get out on a ride-along with some wardens to kind of give you a background and a backstory of what happens out there on the road. It's all coming up this fall on Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors. Again, you want to find out more about Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, go to RockyMountainSports.com.
Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors with Drew Kirby. If you have a question, want to make a comment, or have an idea for a show topic, message us on the My Country mobile app. Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.